Set. was going to make a joke about David saying that you churches aren't about the minister, they're about the congregation, and just starting without him. But when the bell rang, he arrived. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. My name is Stephen Todd, and I am very pleased to be your worship leader for today's service. We welcome all at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. All of you are welcome. All of you are sacred. Whatever this present moment is like for you, whatever your past was like, we invite you now to journey into the future together. And welcome to everyone who is joining us on YouTube. We are delighted you're here. The congregation is all of us, together in person and online. And if you're a new online visitor, you'll find a link to our visitor form in the video description, or send an email to the office and let us know how you found us. A few announcements. It is annual meeting Sunday, which means you get to eat. And then come to the meeting. Today we gather to hear reports, vote on a budget, and vote on new leaders for a variety of positions. Immediately after the service, we will break for lunch in the Sky Room and then reconvene in here at 12:30 for the meeting. You can also attend online through the Zoom link that's in the weekly email and will be posted at the end of this service on the slides. On June 12th, we moved to our summer Sunday schedule of a single Sunday morning service at 10 a.m. each week. Our summer services will kick off with our former intern, now Reverend Christopher Watkins Lamb, who will present the message and lead us in worship, and we will also gift him with a stole, which we couldn't give him during the pandemic, that was made for his ordination. And third announcement, our annual retreat is August 26th through 28th, and registration is now available. Again, check your weekly email for the link to the online form.
In preparation for this annual meeting Sunday, I was looking back at one of the first services I led in August, where I shared with you the realization that the state is filled with deadly things. Black widows and rattlesnakes and bears. And I thought I had gotten used to it all, and then it snowed with 1 week left in the school year. Our opening words are by Paul Gibson on this annual meeting Sunday, looking back at where we've come this year and ahead to where we're going. I share this called Preparing for a Hike. Consider the season. In the spring, pack sandals for water crossings. In the fall, a space blanket for the unplanned night out. Good route, and also the other route, the less preferred, the one you'll need when the first proves impossible. Consider what to carry in your head. Don't listen to sappy music before starting off. The sappier the music, the more you will resent your own brain. Don't worry about what to do with your head. Your head won't work after some hours on the trail. Consider what you'll pass through. Know your trees, your ferns, your mushrooms. Know your wildflowers, both the garish and the shy. Know the birds by their calls, and distinguish the chickadee from the white-throated sparrow. Mind the ovenbird, take joy in the winter wren. And be ready with the first step to give up control. And let the journey unfold on its own, as it most certainly will. Let accidents become opportunities. Let its challenges become triumphs. Let it enter your heart and inhabit you. Let it sanctify you. Let you and the journey and nature be one, as you most certainly are. Friends, will you rise in body or in spirit? And let's begin by singing together.
Promise there should be a slide up.
Just give us the words, Ben. Yeah. Give us the words.
I suppose we'll figure
We're
it out.
building a new way.
Yeah.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We're working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Prejudice and jealousy. We are working to be free. And feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. 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 Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. 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 Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We're building a new way. We are building a new, feeling stronger, stronger every day. We are building a new way. We're building a new way. We are building a new way. One more time. We are building a new way.
Sometimes we find the trail and follow it, and sometimes the trail bends to find us. This is a story, a true story, retold about 200 years ago in Sudan. A man named Ate lived far off in the countryside, He lived there with his wife, his 7 sons and their wives, his 9 daughters and their husbands, 63 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. He was very tired a lot of the time. But the family on its own was a whole village next to the river and far from the caravan road. They didn't get many visitors, but life was good. They could grow or hunt for what they needed. There were trees enough to build homes, heat them. And every so often they made the long trip into the city to trade for things like sugar or ready-made cloth. One day, not too far from their village, a caravan of 12 merchants lost their way. And they wandered around in this dense forest. They couldn't figure it out. They circled back to where they had been. They got more and more worried. Until one morning they woke up and heard the sound of roosters crowing. And it was music to their ears. And they followed the sound of roosters until they could hear dogs barking. And then they knew they were on the right track. When at last they arrived in the village, several young men met them, smiling, welcoming them warmly, tying up the camels, watering them. And these merchants were invited into another yard and were welcomed by Ate, the elderly patriarch, who offered karama to each of the merchants. So in Sudan, karama is the traditional offering given as thanks to Allah, to God, for wedding celebrations or the birth of a child or the return of a long-departed loved one. And today, it might be food, it might be like millet porridge or something, but in Ate's time, the custom was to cook a sheep for the guest and to divide it up among everyone. And so they offered karama to each of the merchants, 12 sheep, feasting and celebration, and the villagers and their guests shared food and songs and stories. And they stayed several days until they and the camels were well rested. I heard a phrase in Spanish. Someone told me once this phrase, pancha llena, corazón contenta, full stomach and a contented heart. Well, they offered gifts to Ate, but he wouldn't accept them. The name Ate means giver, and it was his honor and privilege to host them. He invited them, instead of offering a gift, to return again and bring other guests. And as they went off on their travels, they told everyone they met about this experience. They remembered the standing invitation and returned within the year. And their reception was just as warm and generous as the first time. And stories about Ate and his family began to spread. And year after year, more and more people turned off the caravan road to visit this little village, until at last the stream of visitors became so frequent that the road to the village was more visible, more distinct than the caravan road, which in time disappeared. And Ate was renamed. He came to be called Awak Adarib, the one who bent the road. So may it be for us.
If you are joining us online and have a candle or a chalice nearby, please get ready to light it. We invite you to type into the chat box where your chalice is lit, the street or neighborhood, or what city if you're joining us from outside of Boulder County. And now I'd like to invite Sharon Larock to light this morning's chalice.
Good morning. Building a new way. Thank you. First, I want to thank UUCB for the love and caring you all give to one another. This means so much in the world we live in now. We need to be there for each other, and we are. This past Friday, I was part of a concert singing with Rocky Mountain Chorale Cantabile, accompanied by the Longmont Symphony. We presented Jubilate Deo by composer Dan Forrest, a 7-piece work singing praises in 7 different languages: Latin, Hebrew, Arabic, Zulu, Chinese, Spanish, and English. Jubilate Deo is based on Psalm 100. O be joyful in the Lord, all ye lands, and honors the earth and all of its people. In one song, Ve Atdor Vador, Hebrew and Arabic are combined. I love this song. It's celebrating their common God, beauty in the hope and prayers that a Middle East peace will somehow be realized. Bless his name, for the Lord is gracious. His mercy is everlasting, and his truth endures from age to age. All of us at one time or another thank someone, grateful to be a part of life and to travel its road in thanksgiving. I light this chalice in hopes of a better world where each of us can at least respect our differences and live together on a peaceful earth. May it be so. Thank you.
We now invite all those gathered in our various locations to join together in fellowship and community as we say aloud together our congregation's covenant. We gather in fellowship to speak truth to each other, to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to seek the truth divine. So be it.
Invite you now into a spirit of stillness in prayer and meditation, a spirit of quieting and centering. Let's begin all by taking a breath together. And another, slower, deeper. One of the things we come to church, one of the things we gather to remember is our interconnection, each with the other and with the world beyond us. And in that spirit, I invite you to imagine in mind's eye a wild place you know, maybe on a trail up in the hills or the mountains, maybe under a tree by a stream, maybe out in the snow, but to fix that place in mind's eye and imagination. And in imagination, to begin by rooting yourself there, by feeling the earth under your feet. By looking down and seeing the shape of the ground, the pebbles or the rocks, the dirt, maybe the grasses, the tree trunk you're next to, maybe the pine cones scattered all around you, maybe the snowfield that you're in, high, high up. And then to lift your gaze toward the horizon. To look out as far as you can see to the earth's falling away. And in that place, which is both imagination and this present moment, we'll rest in silence for 7 breaths to slow ourselves down, to slow the rhythms of our own thoughts and anxieties, our hopes and fears and loves, to slow them down to the rhythms of the world around us. And where our to-do list fills our head, let the sound of the wind blow it away. Where the urgency to do and make and become and produce, where that rises within us instead, may the slow-moving earth ground us again. We'll be together in silence for 7 breaths. And slowly come back to this present moment and place, bringing with you some piece of that stillness. Amen. Each week in our service, we set aside time to recognize in ritual the unseen reality that we know and easily forget, that none of us are alone. That the blessings and the concerns, the joys and sorrows which shape your heart and your days are not just yours alone. Those things that break your heart don't set you apart, they join you in community. They are the threads that weave us together. And so in just a moment, as the music begins, I'll invite you to come forward to take a stone from one of the bowls to symbolize that joy or that sorrow and place it into the dirt, the sacred earth of the Ute and Arapaho people, symbolizing the way that each of our individual hopes and sorrows take their place among the whole, held in something larger than any of us. As you come forward, we hold in the love of this community Nicole Delormier, who's recovering from knee surgery, and she'll let us know when she's ready for calls and visitors. And we hold in love and sadness Linda Tharp Arn, who died from a stroke on Friday morning.
We are going
Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. I know that for fact because I learned to drive in the suburbs of Boston. Lexington, Massachusetts, surrounding towns Waltham and Concord, Woburn, Belmont, all these places which are not pronounced like they're spelled. Up the road from my childhood home is Waltham Street. But it's only Waltham Street if you're in Lexington traveling towards Waltham, because once you cross the unmarked, invisible, contiguous border between these two towns, which are like this with each other, it becomes Lexington Street. Not to be confused with Lexington Street in Concord, which is the Great Road in Lexington, which is different from Lexington Street in Woburn, called Woburn Street in Lexington, or Lexington Street in Belmont, which doesn't really go anywhere, except that it nearly gets to Concord Street, which does not go to Concord at all, but back to Lexington. So, the point is, I've always had trouble with directions. I learned to drive, I learned to navigate by feeling, by instinct, by that sense that must be what it's like for a migrating bird following the Earth's magnetic field. It just sort of feels right to go that way. This was difficult to explain when I moved to the Midwest because square grids of streets were baffling to me. Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. But it wasn't, when I learned to drive out there, it wasn't that I didn't know where I was going, it's that I didn't know how to get there. 9 years of driving in Boston before the era of GPS instilled me with the profound confidence, the deep belief that as long as you know where you're going, how to get there is figure-outable. This is a theological term, figure-outable. It's accompanied by this motion. See, sometimes you get lost. Sometimes you need to ask for directions or backtrack or call your mom. But if you know where you're going, time and persistence will get you there. That is how the trail of this church year has felt at times. We have followed it by feel. Sometimes we've needed to ask for directions or backtrack or call for help. But if you know where you're going, time and persistence get you there. And through all the twists of this year, our first year together, I share the faith you so clearly have. We know where we're going. We'll figure it out. When you called me 1 year ago, pandemic was over. Do you remember this? Yikes. I gathered with you for the memorial service for Carol Caliphas last July. None of us knowing that would be the last time we gathered in this space for almost 8 months. And what seemed like a simple walk into the year turned out to be anything but. The first year of this church year started in August and lasted for 10 weeks. For those first 10 weeks, we had church outside, and every Sunday, a small army of volunteers would move chairs and set up an entire AV booth on the fly out there, and tents, and transform that space into a sanctuary in the trees. It was beautiful. The weather was remarkable. It was absolutely exhausting to pull off every week. But after so long not meeting, it was worth it. And at our board retreat that September, we did goal planning for the year, acknowledging pandemic wasn't quite over. Some things might have to slow down a little bit. And then came year 2 of this year, in November and December, when we live streamed from an empty sanctuary, when our AV team built not just an AV setup, but an entire new room back there. We celebrated the news of Ingrid's stay of removal, that after 4 years living in sanctuary, not able to leave this space safely, at last she could. And we planned and prepared to reopen on Christmas Eve, which we did for all of a week and a half before Omicron surged and we began the third year of this year. January and February, which thankfully seem a long time ago, were rough. Those of us with seasonal affective disorder, we got our butts kicked. And those of us who didn't, maybe you started to wonder if you might. The Marshall Fire destroyed 1,000 homes. A wildfire in December, including 2 families in this congregation. And that was followed promptly by the Omicron surge. At our January retreat, the board dreamed big for this next year and scaled back for this current one. We met outside on Sunday afternoons. We talked about a time when Omicron would finally subside, and then it did. And we began our 4th year together this year. At the end of February, we returned in person and online. Ingrid and the kids moved out into their own home after 4 years of sanctuary in these walls. So many changes just in these last few months of this 4th year. Our office administrator, Amy Zen, left for a new role. Blossom, our new preschool renter, moved in and is moving in the open in just a few weeks. If you haven't seen the new toddler playground out there, it is great. Find a small child and bring them. I mean, one you're related to, probably, or not. I'm going to send the wrong message. It's been a lot, even just in these last few months. A crew of cleaning volunteers refreshing the inside of this building, an entirely new format for our 9 a.m. service. And then just the fact of gathering and being together, singing together, revitalizes the spirit. By this math, I am so excited for the coming church year, beginning in August, my 5th year with you. And the first one not defined by a pandemic. Everyone, cross your fingers real quick. I have a couple of weeks this summer set aside just for planning the coming year. And I have never in my ministry been so excited to spend a week with spreadsheets. But that's the trail we've come through this year without losing ourselves. We knew where we were going, even if we didn't quite know how to get there. Someone once said that the 2 most important questions that shape a life or shape a community are first, where are we going? And then second, who is with me? And God help you if you get the order of those 2 things wrong. But when we look toward the trail ahead, I have 3 tools to offer to choose the route and keep us on the path. And the first is one we do well. It's to keep the mission at the center. That mission, to connect bravely and deepen spiritually, to embody justice and always to love. This is fundamentally where we are going. And it is an invitation not into a set of shared beliefs or commitments. It's an invitation into a way of being in the world. It's a path for how to be a person among persons, in church or out of it. And each of us and all of us together, we do this work of discerning, what does it mean to follow that? What does it mean to respond to that magnetic field that pulls us in that direction of connection and spirit of justice and love? For the past 4 years, the heart of our social justice work as a community has been defined by immigration and sanctuary work. And we haven't abandoned that commitment, but a 4+ year chapter is ending. What will be next for us? We figured this out all together. It's not a rhetorical question. What will be next for us? I don't know. But I know that if we follow that commitment to the mission, we'll get there. A second tool to offer you is the reminder that you know already that you create community and connection, which is people's scarcest resource and deepest hunger. Knowing where we're going, this is how we answer, who is with me? This congregation already believes that what it has is worth sharing with newcomers. And nor is our challenge as a congregation creating visibility. Newcomers arrive every Sunday without exception. Newcomers, I feel a little weird talking like you're not in the room right now. Hang tight just for a sec. Our challenge is to build bridges of relationship. And paradoxically, the only way to meet your own need for community, life-giving need for community, is to create it for each other. But community and connection, that stuff bends roads. And a final note to offer on the path ahead for us is that we are going to rebuild from these last 2 years slow and steady. And it cannot be said often enough that we are emerging from pandemic traumatized and exhausted. We're building a new way. Yes, we're not trying to reconstruct exactly what we had 3 years ago, but we're emerging, carrying with us the wounds of these last 2 years, which are real. Practically speaking, in the life of the church, look, it means some task forces and committees are going to come to an end. And that's okay. And it means some task forces and committees won't see as much engagement as they once had, and that's okay too. And it means there's going to be new energy and initiative for things not even imagined a few years ago, and that's okay too. Because in all of this, if you feel like you have less capacity, as a human being than you did 3 years ago, if you feel more of a need to be recharged, and as if being fully recharged gives you less energy than you had, nothing's gone wrong. That is a normal way to feel after 2 pandemic years. And so we go on slow and steady, building a new way. How many folks have done a 14er in this room? That is very intimidating. People online, like more than half the room just raised their hand. I've done like a 7er. By which I mean I drove to Gold Hill one day. But y'all who have done that sort of serious hiking, you know you don't rush into it. Just because you have a ton of energy at the start of the day doesn't mean that you take off at your fastest possible clip. You go slow and steady, and that's how you get there. Last August, on my first Sunday of my first year with you, I shared these words from the poet William Stafford called "Found in a Storm." He writes, "A storm that needed a mountain found it, where we were. We woke up in a gale that was reasoning with our tent, and all the persuaded snow streaked along, guessing the ground. We turned from that curtain down, but sometimes we will turn back to the curtain and go by plan through an unplanned storm, disappearing into the cold, meanings in search of a world. Sometimes you come to this community for safety and support and solace in the storm. That's what church is for. Sometimes we turn away from the storm of the world, and you need a good word, a stone placed in dirt, a song to lift you up, a handshake, a hug. And sometimes you come to this community so that we will turn back to the wind, so that we will all together go through the unplanned storms of living. And that's what this place is for too, to go together into the cold, meanings in search of a world, together. Amen. Will you rise in body or in spirit? Let's sing that. Let's sing that out.
When the night has come, the land is dark, and the moon is the only light we see. No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me, stand by. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Oh, stand by me.
Please be seated. Each month we share our offering with an organization in Boulder County working to do tangible good in the world. And at our annual meeting in just a little bit, you'll get to vote on those for this coming year. This month, our offering has been going to Together, which works to end youth homelessness. And I am delighted to welcome Alex Berglund, Together's Director of Communications, to say a few words about that work.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really grateful for your time and attention to youth homelessness. I just want to start by saying the music here is a lot better than the music I had growing up in church, so thank you. Really appreciate it. So again, my name is Alex, and I'm with Together. You all may know us pre-pandemic. Our name was Attention Homes. We've been in the Boulder community since the 60s, and we have a range of different programs that meet the needs of young people between the ages of 12 to 24. And I don't need to get into all of the different programs, but I will be here for coffee hour after, and I'll leave some brochures as well if you have questions about that. But one thing I really wanted to share with you all today is some of our philosophy at Together, some of our impact areas that we really focus on to help move young people in crisis or unstable situations to stability and ultimately self-sufficiency. And so at Together, we really believe that by focusing on providing safe, stable, and affordable housing for young people, by improving their physical, social, and emotional well-being, by supporting them in their education and employment goals, and by fostering permanent connections for them so that they truly feel like they are part of a community and a contributing member of society. By focusing on all of those areas, we really are able to provide all of the wraparound services to support a young person in their path to self-sufficiency and independence. And I really appreciate the message today around our paths through lives and our trails, and this resounding message of support and acceptance and community. And that's incredibly important for young people. When we talk about homeless youth, we aren't talking about maybe an image that comes to your mind of a person experiencing homelessness standing on the street corner. Young people in our programs are young people that are your barista at the coffee shop, or they're your sandwich maker at the cafe. They're a teenager that's in school and got kicked out of home for being gay, so they're couch surfing with their friends. They are staying at our shelter because they had to leave home because it was an abusive situation, or they had a parent or guardian that was struggling and wasn't able to care for them properly. And so it's really important that we as a community come together to support young people and in every way possible to really help them feel like they are part of this community and help them have the resources that they are able to succeed and thrive. And so that's what we do at Together, and that's where you all can support as well by being just an active member of the community and being a support to organizations like Together and to other organizations. So I really appreciate that you guys do this every month, and I really appreciate being here. Please visit together.org, tgthr.org, to get involved, or I will be leaving business cards and things of that here as well. So thank you again for having me.
I invite you to give as generously as you're able. You can make a donation now as the baskets pass, or using the link posted in the video description, or send a check or scan the QR code with your mobile phone. And may these gifts be used to enact justice and bring peace and love to the larger community. As our service concludes, I'll invite you to lunch in the other room and then back for our annual meeting. Despite being 4 years, we only have one annual meeting. It sort of balances out okay. Friends, the road ahead is filled with things we can't possibly imagine, with challenges, with excitements, with vistas and panoramas, with joy in the journey and new traveling companions we haven't even yet met. We know where we're going, even if we don't always know exactly how we're getting there. But we won't get lost. Will you rise in body or in spirit? We'll close together in song.
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way. Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way.